Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our second to last chapel meeting for this school year. Next week, we'll bring our annual Trent Heber public speaking contest, which is a wonderful tradition I'm sure we'll all enjoy. Before turning to Tyler and our other 9 speakers, I wanted to let you know we learned over the weekend from Mr. Grohowski's parents and the medical examiner that the cause of Mr. Grohowski's death last Thursday was a cerebral hemorrhage from hypertension and cardiovascular disease. It was very quick, and they feel there was likely nothing anyone could have done to help. All of this, as you know, is extremely challenging for his family, friends, colleagues, students, and the Suffield Academy community. I wanted to mention 2 pieces here. First, if you would like to send a note of condolence to Mr. Grohowski's family, please pass it along to Ms. Yeager, who will be sending them. Second, if you would like to leave any notes or pictures honoring Mr. Grohowski here on campus, please bring them to Mr. Bullock or to the Zen Den in our counseling center, where those will be housed for the rest of the school year. We should have beautiful weather here this week, and let's enjoy being together and in such a beautiful place. Let me now turn to Tyler Cooper.
Hi, Suffield. My name is Tyler Cooper. I'm a 3-year senior from Boothville, Connecticut. For the life of me, I cannot decide what to write my chapel speech on, even though I've known about this date since the fall. However, I did realize that there's someone here that I should be thanking, so I would not be up here right now if it weren't for him. Before this one team's trip to New England, he gave each swimmer an individual letter, as he could not make it to watch us at prelims. So I decided that it was best to return the favor in the form of my own letter to him. So here it goes, and I hope you enjoy. Dear Mr. Lowe, one of my first times seeing you was at my hometown pool deck when your swimmers needed a place to train for a few days, and I saw you speaking with Mr. Bowie. It absolutely terrified me that the man I heard about was actively watching me swim, so of course, I decided to swim as fast as physically possible to try to impress you and my future teammates, while getting absolutely winded in the process. When I finally got out of the pool, I hoped to speak with you and get praise, just to realize that you were gone like the wind. Fast forward to that summer, you allowed me to work for you at your storage unit, where you organized your uncle's artwork. At first, there was some silence between us as we were both still getting to know each other, but I always appreciated it when you brought me to Wendy's before work. When I showed up to work, you would ask, "Did you eat lunch? I told you to bring your lunch." Leaving me a little too scared to answer, and I said, "Yep, I ate already." One of the main lessons I learned from you was patience, as we'd be there for hours, and yet I eventually found myself having fun organizing and sitting in the comfortable silence. My first year at Suffield came up in the following months, when I was scared about choosing between swimming and acting. Thankfully, I had you and Mr. Dugan there to help me out, figure things out, as you were much more lenient about my schedule than I expected. But as I went through swim season, you had imparted yet another lesson to me. Always be honest to yourself and others. When I messed up at practice, you would call it out as you saw it. I would know when I did wrong because you would frown at me, shake your head, yet deep down I knew you were laughing at me for messing up again and again and again. Your advice has always been blunt and straight to the point, yet helpful, as I found myself listening to you no matter what. You have that sense of honesty, humor, and humility that I will forever admire. Through my age at Suffield, I've learned to be true to myself no matter what people think, and my confidence has gone up exponentially like I'm up here today. Although I didn't see you as much this year as I have in the past years, you would occasionally cross paths in dining hall, and I'd get your iconic, "Hi, how are you?" which would make my day. I also had the honor swimming for you during your last year of coaching. Initially, I was on the fence about swimming this year, as acting had taken over as my passion. But I decided to continue with it because I knew that's what you would wanted me to do. I'm glad I stuck with it because every practice reminded me of how hard you pushed me to get where I am today. I wouldn't have built up the mental fortitude or work ethic I have now if I didn't have you as an advisor or coach. I wouldn't be the person I am today. If you didn't push me to work harder in classes or swimming my freshman year, I would have never made it to Suffield. And by extension, I would have never given a chance to pursue both my passions simultaneously or meet any of the friends that I have today. You've granted me so many opportunities over the past few years. And I must say, even though I will not be swimming competitively in college, I will miss hearing you say, "Dive, dive, dive," on the pool deck when I didn't follow your instructions perfectly. Mr. Lowe, thank you so much for everything you've done for me and everyone else. And I will always treasure the lessons you have imparted to me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Trent Heber, and I am a 2-year senior from Granby, Connecticut. Some of you may know that I like to swim, sing, and yes, collect Legos. But something that most of you do not know is that I collect coins and I like to write. And I don't mean analytical writing in English class, which, thanks to Ms. Pence and Mr. Sullivan, I don't mind. I mean creative writing that doesn't follow the restraints of a prompt or have to include a thesis or be a certain length. I mean writing that comes straight from the heart to the keyboard. So, today I'm going to read a piece of writing that I wrote about what inspired me to collect coins. The glare from the screen was mesmerizing, making me feel as if I were inside the arcade game. My pupils dilated as I entered level 29. It was the final level before fully completing Space Invaders. Entering the most important point of my life up to this moment, I stretched out my hands, then pressed start. I frantically jammed the controls, but was getting nowhere, dealing no damage, hitting a brick wall. A sudden burst of light popped onto the screen, reading game over. My heart sank into the core of the earth. I lost. Refusing to give in to defeat, I decided to dance with the devil once more. Reaching into my pocket to grab a quarter, I found nothing but a barren, limp wasteland. Lumbering over to the coin machine, I grabbed my last $5 bill and fed it into the carnivorous machine, which vomited up 20 quarters, each with a high-pitched clink and a new opportunity to beat my arch nemesis, Space Invaders. I swept up the coins, heading back over the game. As I glanced down at the quarters, before embedding them in my pocket, a dazzling shine hooked my eye. The coins were all ordinary except for one, which was a shiny, brilliant, silvery white, and felt much heavier than the others in my hand. Space Invaders suddenly became a distant memory as I trotted over to my mom to present my extraordinary discovery. She appeared puzzled by the sight of the coin. She meticulously examined it and its details and said, "It says 1914 on the front." She then pulled out her phone, proclaiming, "Lucky for us, we have the best research tool in the world, Google." Each tap of her finger on the minuscule keyboard piqued my curiosity. Could it be worth millions? Will it make us rich? Peering up, my mom's piercing blue eyes met mine. "I found it. It's a rare antique silver coin," she said excitedly. My mind started to race. How much is it worth? Over 1,000? Over 1,000,000? Time froze as I dreamt of the never-ending riches that would shower down upon me for eternity. My mother's voice suddenly snapped me back to reality. "It's worth $3. I frowned, disappointed with the realization that I was not going to be a millionaire after all. "It's not about the money. This coin is special," she declared. My head was flooded with a sea of questions, wondering just what she meant. I gazed down at the hefty coin cradled in my palm and had an epiphany. Countless people had held this particular coin over the past 100 years. Who held this coin? Where had this coin been? What was it used to buy? We started toward the exit, and I took one last glance at Space Invaders before we left. I stepped outside into the frigid air, saying one last farewell to the arcade, because I knew I wouldn't be seeing it much anymore. This experience marked the commencement of my extensive coin collection and constant search for my next rare find. That 1914 Standing Liberty quarter isn't worth much in monetary terms. However, it is worth everything to me because of what it represents. It will perpetually be one of my most prized possessions because it inspired my journey into the vast world of numismatics, also known as coin collecting. Thank you.
Hi, Suffield. My name is Sander Abel, and I'm a 3-year senior from New York City, and as of last year, Houston, Texas. While some of you may know me from being that guy who isn't in a class that we share, I'm more than what my attendance record might show. Initially, I did not plan on being alone up here, and this was not the speech that I planned to deliver. I had, with my former roommate of 2 years, Trey Bishop, planned to do a Hopkins-style interview where we would suffer through increasingly hot wings while Benedict asked us questions about our time here. Luckily for you, Ms. Yeager quickly shot the idea down, citing various wing reaction concerns. In thinking of what to do instead, I began to do what some would say I do best, procrastinating writing a speech, electing instead to play guitar. As Eli and I sat on the floor of my room exchanging licks for the upcoming guitar show performance of the Grateful Dead's Fire on the Mountain, which is May 20th, by the way, I found myself drifting into the chord progression of Lenny by Texas legendary blues musician Stevie Ray Vaughan. Stevie wrote Lenny in an act of gratitude for his then-wife, Lenora, after she surprised him with his first Fender Stratocaster. As I played, I began to ponder what I'm grateful here for throughout my time at Suffield. First and foremost, I'm grateful for the opportunities that my parents have worked so hard before me. Without the unwavering love and support of my mom, dad, and sister, I would not be here in front of you today. I'm grateful for the amazing bonds that I've built with my peers here, and grateful to call many of you in the audience my family. I'd like to say thank you to all of my friends that have made my time here so memorable. Thank you to my advisor, Mr. Mercure, my former advisors, Mr. and Mrs. C, my college counselor, Mr. Sony, and many more members of our community that make the environment here what it is. To share some of my gratitude, I'd like to play for you some of Lenny. Thank you.
Hi all, I'm Trent Heber, a senior from Austin, Texas. I would like to take this as an opportunity to talk about my hero, my dad. First of all, I want to thank you, Dad, for convincing Mom she didn't want another puppy and actually wanted a third kid. I'm shocked we even had to have this conversation, but I guess I can't blame you, you didn't know me yet. When I was asked what I want to be when I grow up, I always responded with, I want to be in the NBA. And when my teachers asked me for my backup plan, I was quick to respond with, I want to work at Dell, because that's where my dad worked at the time. For as long as I can remember, I've been trying to be like my dad. Every day, seeing what he does inspires me. He's the hardest worker I know and never fails to put his family first. He works unbelievable hours, and when he isn't working, he's helping my mom, my brothers, or I with anything and everything. Whether it's trying to remember algebra to help me with my homework, watching the game after dinner, or helping Brett and I with our shot in the driveway. I'll never forget the countless hours we spent in the driveway playing basketball. No matter how mad you got at me, no matter how mad I got at you for making me shoot countless free throws, you stayed and helped me. Despite my attempts to go inside, or to me telling you I didn't need your corrections, you were always able to figure out how to help me. He was my first neighborhood sports basketball coach, and I remember thinking he was the coolest person ever when he would dunk on the 8-foot rim, showing us how to do a drill. He was also a genius coach, coming up with our best play called Money, which happened to be get rid of the ball. One thing about my dad is the words I don't know are not in his vocabulary. No matter what you ask, he will give you an answer. He always finds a solution to a problem and keeps everyone in mind while doing so. We used to go to Montauk every year and camp with my mom's 6 sisters and all her family. One night, I took my brother's phone and ended up being dangled by my arms, standing at a 45-degree angle, when I was dropped, just in time for my cousin to come up on his bike and allow me to use his backpack as a pillow. With all the chaos going on, my dad runs up to me and gets me in the camper. The last thing I wanted to do was go to the hospital and get stitches in my head. My dad naturally understood my request and did the next best thing. He tied my hair in a knot and gave me a bandana to sleep in. When we turned 16 in my family, we get to take a trip anywhere in the world with my dad, and I'll never forget the week I spent traveling Iceland with him. After climbing glaciers all day, we took a trip to the black sand beach where chunks of ice that have broken off from the glaciers collect. It was freezing cold and the sun was setting, and I had the genius idea of getting on the biggest chunk of ice in the crashing waves to get a picture. Now, I assumed I was doing the dangerous stunt, but when I turned around for the picture, I see my dad stepping on what is probably the smallest piece of ice on the beach. Attempting to get the perfect picture for me, he risks his life as a wave comes and sweeps the ice right out from under his feet. He falls flat on his back, getting soaked in the freezing ocean and ruining his new camera. Being the guy my dad is, he immediately popped up, started laughing with me, and we sprinted back to the car so we could dry him off. The way my dad handles himself in every situation is well thought out and inspiring. He truly leads by example, very rarely getting mad at my brothers and I for our mistakes, and rather trying to help us learn from them. There's so much more I want to say and feel I haven't expressed to you, Dad, and I'm limited on time. So I will sum it up by saying thank you for all you've done and continue to do. I love you.
Hi, Southfield. My name is Oliver Roberts, and I'm a four-year senior from Nassau, Bahamas. As I was struggling to decide what to write my chapel speech on, I thought of all the prominent people in my life. This made me realize that not every important and impactful individual in someone's life has to be a person, which led me to think about my dog, Flacco. When I first saw Flacco, he was walking around the street a few houses down from mine, and he was clearly astray. I saw a mutt whose ribs were sticking out of his side so much you could count them. Our vet later told us that he was months away from dying of hunger at the time he was found. It was so sad to see how cruel the world had been to him, and I was immediately filled with this need to give him the life he and any other dog deserves. I ran to my house and explained the situation to everyone. Then my stepmom and I went out looking for him, knowing he would be coming home with us. We went all the way around the block searching, only to find him in the same place I had originally seen him. We took him up to our yard and tied him to a fence until our vet could check on him in order to make sure he wouldn't spread anything to our other dogs. After a week or so, he was finally cleared to move into the house with everyone else. Flacco has now been living with us for 7 years and is 9 years old. Over the years I have had with Flacco, I have learned it is common for him to cause a lot of problems for me. The past 7 years have been full of Flacco chasing my cat up trees, me chasing him up and down the street, and me having to go get him whenever he gets stuck in our neighbor's yard. Flacco even bit my dad so hard one day that he still has scars on his hand. Despite all of the troubles Flacco has caused, nobody in our family could possibly imagine our lives without him. My dog, like all dogs, makes us feel safe, he keeps me calm, and he gives me something to worry about other than myself. Dogs give us priceless companionship that anyone who has one will understand. Every time I look at my dog and I see a huge grin on his face or his tail wagging, I feel gratified knowing he's happy and not out on the street struggling to survive. Most people who saw my dog before I did probably saw him as just another stray on the street. Most people never would have realized the unconditional love and fulfillment that comes back to you after taking a dog in need into your life. A dog doesn't care how much money you have or what your grades were on the midterm. They are the only things in the world that will love you more than they love themselves. Before I finish, I would like to thank Kepler, Dennis, and Snow for making my time at Suffield better without even realizing it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Royce, and I am a 4-year senior from Bridgehampton, New York. Today, I'm going to talk about my experience at the True North Wilderness Program. On August 7th, 2020, my mother told me that she had just signed me up for a wilderness program in Vermont called True North, and said that my father is driving me up today to arrive tomorrow morning. In the moment, I was shocked. I thought to myself, how could a parent ever do this to their child? But as it began to calm down, I talked to my mother. She reminded me of the last major argument we we had had that summer on the day I was kicked out. At this point in my life, I did not like the person who I was or who I was becoming. This caused me to feel anger towards myself, towards the world around me, and inadvertently my family and friends as well. I hated the one person I was thinking for my entire life, myself. My mother and I ended our argument by talking about how to help me feel better. I asked her to help me in any way, shape, or form she could. So, she decided to begin looking into ways to help me. After several recommendations from friends who also had children with similar issues, she decided that True North would be the best fit for my needs. So, that day I packed up and headed to northern Vermont with my father. Upon arriving at True North, the next morning, I would give my father a large hug. Then, my journey began. Upon entering the facility, I was immediately stripped of all my possessions. I was given new clothes, a backpack, a tarp, a sleeping pad, and an assortment of other camping equipment. Though I noticed there was no tent among the equipment, I asked the person who was processing me into the program where that tent may be. They laughed at me and told me the tarp should suffice. Once fully processed into the program, I was placed in a van and transported to the middle of nowhere, where I joined my quarantine group to await COVID testing before entering my action group. Upon arriving, I would meet my group's guides, Mark and Barrett. They would work similar to camp counselors, except they were far more strict when they needed to be. This group consisted of one other boy named John, who had also been told that he was going there the day prior to attending True North. So, as you can imagine, we were both not the most thrilled to be there. John and I's first few days would consist of getting used to life in the woods. Our guides would teach us skills that we would need to use in everyday life now, such as how to use a map and compass, make a fire from things that you could find, and our guides would teach us to use the skills that we would need to use in everyday life from now on, such as how to use a map and compass, make a fire from items you can find, and set up a shelter. I learned many of these skills in the past through Boy Scouts, but I've never been in a situation like this where I need to utilize all of them at once before. At True North, an average day consisted of waking up at first light, packing up camp, eating breakfast, then either hiking to the trailhead to pick up a food resupply or directed to the next campsite. Once there, we'd have to set up camp again, collect firewood, and go on water to the nearest stream, which was often either dried up or extremely far from the campsite itself. After a few days of this, the two of us loathed True North even more. We would soon establish an escape plan. We decided to attempt to run away when going to receive our COVID tests, as we would be heading back to civilization for them. Our plan was to run when the guides turned around, and it worked. John and I were free, with a grand total of about 30 seconds until the guides chased after us both, and we split up, only to be captured immediately. The next day, I would finally meet my therapist and the person who would be in charge of my group, Will. I was expecting him to be mad at me for my actions, but instead we sat down, we had a session, and he asked me why I did what I did. This was the first time this has ever happened to me. He helped me understand the impulsive nature behind my decision and realize where I'd gone wrong. This was a crucial first step in the process, as it allowed me to open up to Will about why I believed I was there. 4 days later, we received our negative COVID tests, and John went to his group A1, and I went to mine, A2. Upon arriving at the trailhead, when meeting with my group A2, I was immediately greeted by 6 other boys who looked like they had been on the island and cast away. Their names were Archer, Joe, Mason, Margwa, aka Dawn, Tracy, and Zane. Nearly all of them had been there for over a month, and most of them loved it. After hearing and seeing how the program had benefited all so much, it gave me hope for what I could accomplish during my stay. Finally, I was stuck there, and I accepted that I was stuck there and began to embrace the program and all it had to offer. I began working through issues I had been unable to process properly for years, such as being bullied while growing up and my parents' separation. For the next couple of months, I would be given a chance to focus solely on my mental health and well-being. By utilizing therapy sessions mixed with supportive friends, I was able to finally get a grip and work on myself. During this time, I would experience some of the best and worst days of my life. I began to understand that one cannot take anything for life for granted, especially the little things like, for example, water. As although you may possess it now, you may not always have it, and you may not always have it when you truly need it. So appreciate it while you can. This would help me learn to appreciate life and all it has to offer. instead of spending every day wishing it could be tomorrow. In the end, True North did not solve all my problems. Instead, it helped set me up for future success by teaching me how to understand, process, and deal with my emotions like I had never known how to do before. After spending nearly 90 days in the Vermont wilderness, on November 4th, I was finally given the privilege to return home. I went into True North, filled with anger and hatred towards myself and the world around me. I came out a person who loves themselves and appreciates the happy moments in life. True North helped me become the person I am today. Without the experience, I can almost guarantee I would not be speaking to you all here today, let alone being to college. If you take anything from this speech, I hope it is that you all understand that it is possible for anybody to overcome their issues. All it takes is a willingness to confront the issue and acknowledge your part in it. Before I go, I would like to thank my parents for always believing in me, even when I tested their faith. I'd like to thank my advisor, Mr. Johnson, and my past advisor, Mr. Reeves, for always holding me accountable and giving me the best advice when I needed it. And I'd also like to thank Ms. Fitzgerald for pushing me to do my very best on her own time. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Kuliku, a 4-year senior from Hong Kong. I want to use this time to share some stories of each of my family members, to express my thanks to them for helping and being by my side through ups and downs in my life. First, I want to thank my dad. Thank you, Dad, for always being someone whom I can look up to and get advice from. Thank you for providing for the family and being someone that I can talk to and relate to. I love when we're on one side against Mom, but also get so scared together when Mom is actually getting angry. I miss the late night talks with you in the backyard while you're having your cigar and me trying not to breathe. You're the most amazing dad in my opinion, and I will never be able to express how much love I have for you. Next, I want to thank my mom. Thank you, Mom, for the unconditional support, love, and hard work from all these years. It's not that easy to have all three children start school every year on your birthday, and signing school papers and forms as birthday presents. Thank you for being someone that always has my back and that I can reach out to whenever I need. Thank you for always planning, looking out for us, and thinking for us before yourself. After my mom, I want to thank my sister. Thank you, Shannon, for being the big sister. I'm sure there are a lot of responsibilities and pressure as the first child, and also having two little annoying siblings behind you always looking up to you. I'm really proud of what you have achieved and overcame these years. Thank you for being the best sister, a sister that I can connect with and share many interests with. Also, thank you for letting me stay with you all the breaks I had this school year because I can't go back home. I'm really happy that I got to spend so much time with you. Thank you for making time to bring me around to eat, to visit colleges, and just taking care of me while I was staying with you. And then there's my brother. Thank you, Melvin, for being silly with me since the longest time. I still find it funny that I don't feel sorry of breaking your ear when I rolled you in a blanket and pushed you off your bed when we were little. But that is because you did say you like the way your ear looks because it's special. You're welcome. Thank you for being a big brother who always look out for me and always let me be there for you. Also, thank you for being here in Suffield when I was a freshman because it made me feel safer, even though we didn't really come across each other on campus. Thank you for being like a friend to play with when we were little, but also have conversations seriously now that we're older. At last, I want to say thank you to all my friends back home, the friends I've made here, all the teachers that have helped me in Suffield, and to Cutest Dog Alive, Simba, I miss you so much. You are all very important people to me. I love you all, and I'm really grateful for you guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great day.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Bedevsky. I come from the Republic of Moldova, and I am not a senior here at Suffield, and sadly never will be. See, I came to Suffield through a program called ASSIST, and it's an amazing program that gives students around the world the opportunity to study at American independent schools. But there's always a but. I can only stay for 1 year. It's in my contract, among other things. And it's a weird feeling, having the clock always ticking in the back of my mind, knowing soon I'll have to pack my bags and go, without wearing the white dress, or sitting in the senior corner, or always being first during sit-down lunch. These and many other traditions are what makes Suffield feel so much like home, I feel like, and the people here so much like family. I guess there's just something about sharing these little privileges with your community, and if not knowing you are going to share them in a few years, it makes you feel like you belong, like you're a part of something. And that's why in the beginning I struggled to find my place here, because I knew I fit in like a perfect puzzle piece, yet I didn't belong in the same way the other people did. It took me a while to realize just how much of a blessing that was, and how much I would learn and grow from it. Until then, though, I did everything in my power to find out how I could cheat my way into those little privileges, which is one of the reasons I stand in front of you here today, giving a senior chapel speech. I remember the first time I heard that you're not going to graduate if you step on the golden Suffield seal. And let me tell you, ever since that day, there has not been one time I have not stepped on that shiny ese guapideri. Because guess what? I won't graduate. And the best way I could think of dealing with that is by passive-aggressively stepping on a piece of metal every time I go to the dining hall. And I admit, it's a little pathetic, it's a little petty, but it makes me feel like I'm in control. If I have to leave Suffield, let it be because I've upset the Golden Seal Ghost, and not because of something I have absolutely no say or power in. Another tradition I've been dying to do is ring the bell. And as you all know, you can only do that if you win a game, which I have not, or if you graduate, which I won't. Well, I did it anyways. On my 18th birthday, me and my friends were in the Union celebrating, and then it started raining, pouring with lightning and everything, which meant no one was going to be outside, which also meant no one would hear if a certain someone decided to go in the rain and ring the hell out of that bell. It was the best feeling ever. I could still hear the last echo as we were running back inside, and I think in that moment, I finally let it go. I was just too happy, too grateful to feel like I had been wronged in some way, because ultimately, knowing my Suffield experience was going to be 1 year only was the best thing that ever happened to me. For so long, I had wanted to ring that bell and make it speak. Say that I belong, that I am seen, that I will be remembered too. And yet, it is this very notion of being invisible that gave me the freedom. It took away the pressure of always being perfect, of taking the hardest classes, being in all the clubs, ripping myself in 1,000 pieces so I can arrange them neatly in a college application. You won't believe how easy it is to try new things without fear, and dress and talk how you want without hesitation, when you know for a fact it's not going to matter in a few months. What a wonderful feeling to actually be in the front seat of your own life. Yes, my time here is finite, but I never realized there's something so beautiful about that, because I get to cherish all these moments fully and completely, as if they were my last, because, well, they are. And in front of the inevitability of time, everything else just crumbles. Expectations, opinions, judgments, they're all irrelevant. So I'm left with me. And that is an intoxicating power. It just begs the question, why does it take an ultimatum for people to enjoy living? I guess we just get caught up in our everyday problems, which is understandable. As teenagers, each crisis in our lives seems final simply because it is new. I think Suffield gave me a newfound appreciation for the present moment. So fleeting, yet so precious. These days, I still step on the seal on my way to breakfast every morning, but now it's more out of habit. And sometimes I still get caught up in the college mania and worry I'm not enough. We're all so young and scared to accept our own identities, and sometimes it feels so much easier to just compare ourselves with the rest of the world and see where we stand. But I know where I stand. Right in front of you all. And in 10 minutes, I'll be in Miss Rollins' class, writing my prompt of the day. And in a few weeks, I'll be in Moldova making homemade peach jam with my mom. But nonetheless, I'll be. And if this whole experience taught me something, is that sometimes that's okay to just be. Thank you.
Thank you, Dad.